everyone, and welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we'll be completing in today's video, this 3D-ish rainbow I'm calling it. It's how we can get a similar to 3D effect in Procreate. You know, nothing like you can get in like a Blender or 3D program or even Photoshop or Illustrator with some of the effects that you can do there, but similar style with a pretty easy technique. So we don't do anything too crazy. It's fairly straightforward. And it turns out really cute. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so thank you to all my patrons who support me over there. If you'd like to join us, it's linked in the description below, and you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're drawing over here on YouTube. But before we get started on today's video, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette and the custom brush that we use for the rainbow. So they're both linked in the description below. They're totally free to download. Just save them both to your iPad. And then for the color palette, just double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then for the brush, you just need to be in a drawing, open up your brush library, find whatever folder you want to save it into. Maybe you have like a custom folder or something, and then click the plus icon, click import, and then find the file where you downloaded it, and it will import like that. I'll also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with. So let's just go ahead and create our background first. So our background is going to be these three blue colors on the top row. We're going to have a gradient from lightest to darkest going from corner to corner. The upper right corner where our sun is going to be the lightest. So we'll just be on layer 1 on our layer menu. We'll grab our first color on the first row and drag and drop it to fill our whole canvas with that color. Same layer, we're just going to grab our second color on the top row now. Grab our selection tool, set to freehand, and turn on color fill. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that I can see my edges, and this is going to be the top right color. So I'm just going to start about halfway from left to right on the top of my canvas, touch right outside of that. Go down into the right a little bit on this other side, outside of the canvas. Again, maybe like halfway from top to bottom. And then to fill this in, we're going to tap up and around back to the beginning outside of our canvas the whole time to fill in that upper right corner. Then we'll click our selection tool to turn it off. Then we'll grab our next color, third one on the top row, darker now for our bottom left corner, and do the same thing, selection tool again, and we'll do it on the opposite. So we'll do the middle from top to bottom on the left side, right outside the canvas there, middle on the bottom, out there, and then back to the beginning again to fill that in. So now we have a lighter and darker color laid down. And now we just need to blur them all together. So make sure you turned off your selection and then go to your wand icon, Gaussian Blur, and we'll drag this up a good amount to like 50 to 60%, somewhere in there, so we get a nice good gradient going through it. Awesome. Now we can go straight ahead and move on to our clouds. We'll lay down our clouds first. So we'll make one cloud, we'll duplicate it for the other cloud, and then we'll draw the rainbow stripes, and then we'll add the like 3D effect to everything. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's grab our first cloud color, the fourth one on the top row, next one in line. And we're going to grab our super thick brush that you should have downloaded wherever you saved it. Maybe we'll go up to like 60%. And we're just going to make a cloud shape with this now. So we're going to tap next to it, kind of straight next to it, tap again. So they kind of overlap just a little bit. Tap one more time across the bottom there. So we get kind of 3 there. And then we'll tap in between these top 2 and in between the top 2 again. So that's kind of the start of our cloud shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like perfectly horizontal or anything, but if you need to, you can grab it with your arrow tool and you can like rotate it or resize it or anything. But I think this is a good size to start with. We might downsize it a little bit when we're kind of placing it, but we'll see. So now we're going to make the 3D effect on this first. So we'll make the 3D effect, then we will duplicate it for the other one. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer above our cloud shape, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. And then we're going to grab our next color, this grayish color, fifth one on the top row. And so essentially to get our 3D effect, we're just going to have like some kind of shadow around the edges. It'll be a little bit lighter in the middle, but that's again just kind of the best that we can really do in terms of getting a 3D effect in Procreate. So, and obviously like this is going to be a very basic version of it. We could do like a lot more shadows, a lot more highlights, and start blurring them all together to get a really, really nice 3D effect, which we might do later, but I wanted to keep this one a little bit more simple. So we are going to now switch our brush to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. So find that. We'll set our opacity at like 50, and then our size, let's set to maybe like 7 or 8. And we're just going to kind of go around the edge with this. So maybe I'll start on the bottom. I'm going to come in up between these two, like the little crevice here, go around and do this next crevice as well. So we're kind of doing a shadow across the bottom on the left side of this one, around the left side, because again, our sun's coming from the top right. So we're going to have more shadows like on the left side. So I'll go kind of all around this one, and then maybe the left side of this top circle, and then again in the crevice here. Maybe this right crevice we'll leave kind of alone because it's, you know, the sun's really hitting it there. But yeah, so let's kind of bring some more shadows up. Something kind of like this. Okay, I might lower my brush a little bit to like 5% and just kind of come in and bring in a little bit more color towards the very bottom and in these little crevices. Because our opacity was lower, we should be able to kind of darken it up just a smidge on the very edge, kind of all the way around. And it'll look kind of blocky right now, but we'll fix that. So now let's grab our last color on the top row, the bright white, sixth one in line. And now we're just going to kind of hit some of the high points. So let's kind of hit this right edge, and my size is still lower. That's okay. Let's just kind of hit this right edge a little bit, maybe hit through the center here and there. Nothing too crazy, just want a little bit of this in as well. So we don't want to cover up everything, but now again, it looks kind of splotchy. Okay, so now we're going to blur it. So wand icon, Gaussian blur again, and we'll drag this up a little bit to maybe like 15%, I would say looks good. So that gets it nice and blurry, but gives us some good like variation all the way around. So that should look pretty good. That should look pretty 3D-ish. Like it's just the start again. We'll add some brighter highlights, and then the shadow below it will really help as well. Okay, but then we're going to add some even slightly deeper shadows. So let's go to our layer menu, add another new layer, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Let's go back to our gray color again, fifth one on the top row, same soft brush at 5%, 50% opacity. And I'm just going to again kind of try to deepen up these sides just a little bit more with this kind of gray again, like so. And then let's actually grab our black color, third one on the bottom row. And we are going to very, very lightly lower your opacity if you need to, but we're going to very, very lightly just kind of touch right around the edges here. Again, with this really dark color to just really darken up some of those shadows there. Okay, lastly, our bright white again. Last one on the top row. Same thing, just hit those high points again in a few spots. I'm just kind of making some blobs. And then another blur. So wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll blur this again up to maybe 15 to 20%, somewhere in there. And then you can kind of see the difference even that made with just like we can turn off this top clipping mask compared to like our bottom one alone, and it just looks so much better and so much more 3D. So that is a good way to get that effect. So then that's it for our cloud for now. We'll add the like really bright highlights again later if we need them on our cloud. We might only add them to our rainbow and our sun. I'm not really sure yet, but this is it for our cloud for now. So let's go ahead and snap these layers together onto one layer. So good job there. And then let's go ahead and kind of place it where we want it now. So with our arrow tool, let's go ahead and drag it on here to the bottom left area. Switch it to uniform for our selection here, and we can downsize it a little bit. So we obviously need one on the left side, one on the right side. So I'm going to downsize it just a little bit and place it kind of in this left area, a little little gap from the left side, a bigger gap from the bottom. And then once you like that size, let's go ahead and make a duplicate of it. So on our layer menu, slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab with our arrow tool and let's make sure that snapping is turned on in the bottom left, and we will just drag it on over, keeping it on these 3 blue lines here that show that it's like perfectly in line with each other. And again, I'm just going to kind of space it out on the right side about even, but there's not quite enough of a gap in the middle for me. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, select one cloud, slide right on the other so they're both selected. Arrow tool, uniform again, downsize it even a little further. I'll just downsize it to the left, and then I'll grab my top one again, which is my right one, and move it on over again just to create a little bit more of a gap there. So do that if you need to. Get your two sized and ready to go. Just make sure they're lined up with each other, a little space on the left and right side, a little space in the middle. We can still resize them again later if we need to, but I think this is good for now. Okay, so let's go to our layer menu and add a new layer below our cloud. So we'll do it above layer 1, which is our background. So a new layer there, and we are going to start laying down our stripes now for our rainbow. So we'll grab our red color first, the first one on the second row, and we'll switch back to our super thick brush. And now we're going to set it to the size that we want our stripes to be. So this is obviously way too big for our stripes. So we're going to downsize it to maybe 30, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so then we'll just do kind of a test stripe. So I'm going to start on the left side of this cloud, draw like an arc to the right side of the other cloud, hold that down till it turns nice and smooth. And then you can click this edit arc button if you need to adjust it a little bit. But essentially, like, this would be the start of our rainbow. And then we would need 4 more. So we would need one next to it, all of the same size. So this is probably going to be a little too thick for me, because if I did like another one, it would probably go to here, and then another one would probably go to here, and then I'd be like really like on the very inside of my clouds for my last one. So I'm going to decrease the size of my brush a little bit, but do what works for you. I'm probably going to go down to 25, and we'll probably stick with that. So again, now we'll actually draw the stripe for real this time, but same idea. Left-ish side of the cloud, right underneath it. Draw a nice good arc to the right side of the right cloud. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, and then edit the... We want an arc at the top. If yours switches to ellipse, that's probably not ideal just because of the way that it like resizes. It's kind of weird like this. It might work, it might not. I prefer an arc, so I'm just going to redo it. Hope they give me an arc instead. Beautiful, edit arc. And again, we just want to line up on the right and left side of our clouds and get a nice smooth arc throughout. So something about like that, as high or as low as you would like it. We do want room for our sun in the top right corner, but we could resize this if we need to, or like move the whole thing down or something. And if we need to redo these and adjust our size of our brush again, we can. No problem redoing it if you need to. But we'll start with that one. We'll add a new layer on our layer menu and grab our next color, the orange one, second one on the second row, and same brush and size and everything. And I'm just going to start right next to it under the cloud there, make another arc, hold it down, edit arc. And then we're just going to line everything up as best as we can. So I'm kind of lining up the edge here where the red and orange come together by the cloud, line it up on the other side, adjust this arc at the top so there's no gap, and our arc is kind of the same. So that looks good for that one. Layer menu, new layer, green color, third one on the second row, same thing, hold it down, edit it. Again, bring the edges together, and then adjust the arc as needed. Keep adjusting your edges if you need to also. We just don't want any gap. We want a nice smooth curve, but we don't want to like cover up too much of our other one. We don't want it to be like weirdly proportioned like that. So just like this is good. Okay, one more new layer, purple color, fourth one on the second row, and then again, inner arc, hold it down, edit it. And this is kind of like our most telling one. If this is way too close to like touching in the middle and there's not enough of a gap, we can adjust the size further to redo the rainbow. So I might go ahead and do that. I think they're just a little too big compared to my clouds. So I'm going to start this whole thing over again. So feel free to do that. I'm just going to delete my layers. When I get to my red one, I'm going to click on it and click clear. Go back to my red color, downsize my brush to maybe 20, and we'll go again. Left side of the cloud to the right side of the cloud, hold it down. Edit the arc. Again, I want it kind of short because I do want room for my cloud. or sorry, I do want room for my sun. So maybe something about like this. Layer menu, new layer, orange color, same thing. Hold it down, edit. And every once in a while, the arc that it gives you might just not quite line up at all, even when no matter how much you adjust it. So just kind of redraw it if you need to, and then edit it again and see if that gives you a better result. There we go. New layer, green color. Edit. And one more layer for our purple again. Hold that down, edit it. Bring it up, make sure there's no gaps, make sure it looks pretty even. Okay, so I think that overall looks a little bit better just for my rainbow in general. And then we can maybe either move the clouds or move the rainbow because like now there's a huge gap in the middle compared to the edges. It just looks a little disproportionate. So you can either, like I said, move like a cloud over, you know, something maybe like this, and then move the other one to kind of line up with it. So then it would look something like this. Or if we want to leave our clouds, we could grab all of our stripes, arrow tool on uniform, and downsize that a little bit and then kind of center it here like so, just to kind of bring it in a little bit more so that it lines up a little bit better with our clouds. So just kind of mess around doing whatever you need to do to get that to look right. Okay, and again, we want room for a sun up here, so I might move the whole everything that I have now. I might just move it all down just a little bit. Right about there looks good. So do some adjusting with everything, and then once everything's in place, we can go ahead and add our highlights and shadows to our stripes to make them look 3D as well. So let's start with our red stripe, add a layer above it. Click on Insert to a clipping mask and click the N, and we'll change the layer style and we'll set it to overlay. Okay, and then on our color palette, we have these first two colors on the bottom row. We have a peachy color and a purple color. So the peachy color is our highlight, the purple color is our shadow. We're going to do it all on this same overlay layer. So let's start with our peachy color. Let's switch our brush to the soft airbrush under the airbrushing category. I'll set my opacity of my brush to 100 and I'll set the size to maybe 30, and we'll kind of see how that goes size-wise and stuff, maybe up a little bit more to like 40. And again, so yeah, we just want kind of right in the middle of our red. So I'm going to again draw from one side to the other, kind of in that same arc motion, hold it down, click edit, and kind of adjust it so it's just right through the middle. Doesn't have to be totally perfect, just kind of similar. Same layer, same brush, we're just going to switch our color to the second one on the bottom row, the purple color. And again, this is our kind of shadow, so this will be on our top and bottom edge. So you can either go through with your brush and just kind of like gently create this shadow all the way around on like the other side of our highlight like that. Or if you want, you can go, so now that was the inside, I'm going to do the outside now. Or you can do like the whole arc thing again, hold it down, edit it, and kind of adjust it to just be on the outside there. Kind of whatever works for you, whatever feels right. And we're going to blur it again and stuff so it won't look like this for very long. So if it's a little messy, that's okay. But again, once you have your middle and your edges, let's go ahead and click our wand icon, Gaussian Blur, and we'll blur this a good amount to maybe like 10 to 15%, just kind of whatever looks good, like so. Okay, and then very lastly, we're going to add a layer of black as well on the bottom side of this and the cloud side to create even more of a shadow there. So just right above our little overlay layer, add another new layer, just leave it as a normal layer, but click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Grab our black color, third one on the bottom row. Same brush, and we'll just very lightly, so lower your opacity if you need to, but we'll very lightly just kind of go right around the cloud, add a teeny bit of black right there, And then on this bottom edge, we're just going to peek in just this littlest bit of black coming from there as well. I'm going so light, so again, change your opacity, and then we're also going to blur it so it won't be quite as harsh once we do that. But just very lightly peeking in there, and then again, kind of following the cloud shape just a little bit as well. Okay, wand icon, Gaussian blur, up this a little bit to maybe 10% or so. And then if you need to, you can also grab it with your arrow tool and you can just tap on the bottom a little bit to just kind of bring it down a smidge if too much of it is like sticking out. You can also, if it's just way too dark, click the N on this layer on your layer menu with the black on it and just lower the opacity a little bit to like 60 to 70%. That works too, but we just want a little bit more of a shadow there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to set mine to like 70. So now we'll just do that for every stripe. So look how 3D that looks. So layer menu, now we're on our yellow stripe, add a layer above it, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, click the N and set it to overlay first for our peach and purple. So peach first through the middle. Hold it down, edit the arc, or same thing, if you want to manually draw this, you totally can. You can just go right through the middle. Okay, purple color, second one on the bottom row, same layer. I'll do the inside and the outside. I prefer to just draw these rather than like hold them down. I just feel like it's not too terribly difficult to get to touch the areas that I want to. Okay, now we'll blur it. So wand icon, Gaussian blur, up to maybe 10%. And then we'll add our black layer. So layer menu, new layer, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, normal layer, switch to our black color. Same thing, we'll do the clouds first. So just kind of right around the cloud shape there. Right underneath this little, by the green. Very lightly, cloud shape again on the other side. Okay, wand icon, Gaussian blur, 10%. Arrow tool, I'm going to tap down a little bit. And then layer menu, the N on this layer, down to 70%. Beautiful. Next one is our green. New layer above it, clipping mask, overlay. Back to our peachy color. Same thing through the middle. And then our purple color for the top and bottom. And then wand icon, Gaussian blur, up to 10 to 15%. Layer menu, new layer, clipping mask, but a normal layer with our black color again. Lightly by the cloud. Whoa, lightly on this here. And then wand icon, Gaussian blur, 10%. Arrow tool, tap down a few times. And then layer menu, click the N and drag this to 70. If you ever see a gap, like I have a little gap on the left here where my green and purple come together, and since I kind of darken that up, it's kind of more apparent. I'm going to go back and just find my purple layer, grab it with my arrow tool, and maybe I'll just stretch it in this direction, just enough to kind of cover up that little gap there. But that's it for our green, so now our purple layer. Layer above it, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, click the N and set it to overlay. Peachy color through the middle. So yeah, so this peach is nice. It just adds a nice kind of highlight on whatever color we're on. So you can kind of see it just changes like the purple to like a lightish pinkish purple. It changed our green color to a light green. And then our purple does the same thing kind of as a shadow for whatever color we're on. Okay. Once that's laid down, wand icon, Gaussian blur, 10 to 15%. And then we will do a black layer on this one as well. So new layer, clipping mask, black color, but we're just going to do right by the cloud. So this one isn't going to have as deep of a shadow on the bottom edge just because like these ones are overlapping with each other. That's why they have such a deep shadow there, but it is being overlapped with by our cloud here. So I'll just do right by my cloud and then wand icon, Gaussian blur, 10%, arrow tool down a little bit, layer menu opacity to 70. Okay, so then that's pretty much it for our rainbow. We're going to add our sun now, and then we'll add the shadows underneath them and the highlights all at the end. So this is, almost done, but not quite fully done. So that is a great start though. I hope you like the way yours is looking. So layer menu, let's add a new layer at the very top of all of our layers. So I know we got a lot going on here with all of our clipping masks. If you need to save layers, you can snap these together. So you can snap like your 2 clipping masks above your purple layer to your purple layer. Same thing with all the rest of them. You can do that all the way down if you wish to, just to help save some layers, but you don't have to if you ever want to go back and adjust them. But that is helpful. So now we'll have a new layer at the top for our sun. Let's grab our first yellow color, 5th one on the 2nd row. And we're going to switch to our monoline brush this time under the calligraphy tab. Whatever size yours is at is fine. I have my opacity at 100, size at 30. And we're just going to draw a perfect circle up here in the top right corner. So just draw a good circle shape, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. It's at a good size. We can still resize it if we need to, but maybe something about like this, and fill it in. Arrow tool on uniform if you need to resize it at all, but just go ahead and place it up here in this corner. Then we're going to make the rays around it. So we'll go to our layer menu, we'll add a new layer underneath the circle layer, grab our next color and line 6th one on the 2nd row. Same monoline brush at 30% is good. And we're just going to go through and I'm just going to start maybe anywhere, let's just say kind of towards the top, a little bit outside of my sun, and I'm going to make a bunch of lines like this. They can be kind of messy. We're going to let it snap at the end and then adjust it. So just go all the way across till you get back to the beginning and then hold it down. You don't want a long line like this, so if yours messes up like mine did, go ahead and just kind of redo it and just be very like prompt and sudden with your movements so it doesn't think you're doing anything else but making these spikes. Hold it down. But if that isn't working for you, you can just go through and kind of just make a few at a time and hold them down. So you can do something kind of like this, hold it down, and then click this edit polyline button to kind of adjust them a little bit, and then make another section of like 3, hold it down, adjust it again. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just something kind of fun like this. So I'll just do my 3 at a time. That's working better. That one looks kind of good already. That one looks pretty good. And then once we get to the end here, maybe we'll just have 3 to connect it, or you might only have 2, or you might have to do 4. Kind of whatever works. But so we get a good fun shape like this, and then go ahead and fill that in. Okay, so now we'll do the shadow and highlight effect to each of these layers, and then we will move on to our main highlights and our main shadows for our whole picture. And then we'll be done. So layer menu, let's just go ahead and we're on this bottom raise layer. Let's add a layer above that. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask and click the N and set it to overlay again. We'll use our peach and purple color on the bottom row again. So first color on the last row, switch back to our soft airbrush under the airbrushing category. We'll maybe set our size pretty small to maybe like 20%. Opacity still at 100. And this is our highlight. So I'm just going to kind of go through each of the little triangles here and just kind of make like a little blob on each one. Again, we'll add a shadow, we'll blur it together. So whatever, doesn't need to be too precise. Go to our purple color now, second one on the bottom row, and first let's go around the inside. So just kind of coming from our sun, like the circle part, we'll kind of go right around that. And then around the edges a little bit as well. And I feel like that's why we do our highlights first, because it's easier to kind of go around them than to go back through and highlight through the center. I'd rather like have more shadow than highlight. So I'd rather cover up some of the highlight as we go. So it should look something like this now. Then we'll do wand icon, Gaussian blur, and blur this up a good bit to maybe 10% at the most. This layer is like smaller, so we don't have to do as much. So maybe like 7 to 8% is good. No black layer this time. This is good enough. Then let's do the same thing for our circle. So layer menu, add a new layer above our top circle layer. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Click the N and set it to overlay. And our peachy color again, first one on the bottom row. Maybe we'll up our size quite a bit to like 50. And I'm just going to go right through the center here in kind of a circular motion. Like so. Now our purple color around the edge. Okay, then we'll blur it together. It's really choppy right now. Wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll blur this up a good amount to maybe 10 to 15%. Okay, and then that is it for our sun there. If you want to change the size of your whole sun, you can. So layer menu, we can, first of all, we can snap our highlight layer to each of our main layers there. And then we can even snap them together if we wish. So the sun is all in one layer. Arrow tool on uniform, and we can make it a little bit bigger or move it around or rotate it or anything like that. But that looks good. We do want our rainbow to be kind of the main event. So layer menu, let's add a new layer at the very top now, and we'll add kind of our brighter highlights. So it'll just be a normal layer. We'll grab our white color, our brightest white, the sixth one on the top row, and we'll stay on our same soft airbrush. We'll lower our size quite a bit to maybe 20. And you can mess around with your opacity if you need to. We're going to go pretty light. But let's just start with our sun. So for our sun, we're just going to have a couple highlights kind of just around that like edge of our main highlight here. So something kind of small like this, just kind of curvy little lines there, like so, to add a little bit of a highlight. And then we're going to do a similar thing for each of our rainbow layers. So like for our red, I'll just start kind of right where the highlight is and just go through really lightly and just add a little bit more of a highlight in a few spots. Just to kind of give it that like glossy look almost. So some kind of short, some longer, some closer together, something like that. Nothing too crazy, but again, just always kind of right through the middle where we already have that highlight. Nothing too bright though, like that one got way too bright on me. So if you need to, again, lower the opacity of your brush, go ahead and do so. Okay, the green. And then the purple. Something like that. And then we'll do the same thing on our clouds. So we might be able to see it, we might not, but I'm just going to kind of go through and kind of make some quick little curvy highlights like this. If you get a little closer to the edges, you can see it a little bit better when you're drawing on this like more gray part. But you can also leave it off your clouds if you wish to, if you like them just looking kind of fluffy the way that they are. I also kind of like the way that that looks. So you can do whichever you prefer. I might leave it off my clouds, but do whatever you wish. Okay, so then lastly is our main shadow layer. So we're going to go to our layer menu, go to our layer 1 with our background gradient, and add a layer above that. Click the N on this layer, and this time we're going to set it to multiply. And our shadow colors are these last two on the last row, these two blue colors. So we'll start with our lighter one, which is the 5th one on the bottom row. And we'll go back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category, the bigger one at the top. Our opacity is still at 50%. Our size, let's do maybe 7 or so. And this is going to be our first shadow. So again, our sun's coming from the top right. Let's go ahead and make our shadow on the bottom left side. So we'll start kind of on this bottom left by my cloud and kind of start there, lightly poking a shadow out from that, from here, and then the whole like left side of the rainbow as well. And again, go out kind of far. This is just our first shadow layer. So then we'll darken it up with our next one. Same thing though, like the bottom right side of the like inner part of the rainbow there would be hit by shadow. The bottom of this cloud. Okay. Then our sun as well. So we'll just do a little bit of a shadow there, sticking out. Bottom left side again. Okay. Then let's go ahead and switch our color to our darker color now, 4th one on the bottom row. Same brush, let's maybe lower our size a little bit to like 5%. And now we'll just do closer, darker shadows. So we'll just do closer to everything. Maybe pick up our brush a couple times to make it nice and dark there. And then same thing by our sun, just kind of right as close as we can get to it, maybe even just in between these little rays there, just a little bit darker, closer to the sun. So once that is done, that is it for our shadow, and then that is it for our drawing. So that is kind of how we get a slightly 3D effect in Procreate with this fun rainbow. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out, and I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.